Okay, good morning. We are Hilchas Chatzitzah of Niddah, Siman Kuf Tzadi Chet. I'm just going to quickly read Gimel and Dalet and explain it together. Gimel, Kuf Tzadi Chet Gimel. Im hachutim ha'elu, chalulim asuyima sireshet einam chotzitzim. Okay, so as far as these are basically the strings, or a net, whatever it is, and you're using, but there's either water can get in everywhere. There's spaces between the threads or under the threads from where it's pressing against. Einam chotzitzim. It's not going to be a chatzitza. Let me continue to Dalet, and then we'll go over everything together. Chute se'ar einam chotzitzim. These are strands or rubber bands or gummies or whatever you want to wear that's on the hair. It's not chotzitzim, but it's on the condition that they're loose. So the word gumi or a rubber band is probably not the best word, but any kind of a string or a ribbon or anything that's around the hair, holding the hair together, all of these are okay if they are loose. Again, and they have to be so that the water can get underneath them, around them, through them, and therefore there's no chatzitza. It's as long as they are loose, the water can get through, no problem. And right, obviously the minhag lachatchila is when we go to the mikvah, we don't wear anything. However, it is mikar din, absolutely not a chatzitza. Even if it would be rove, it would be no problem, right? Because the woman wants it on them, and let me keep reading, we're going to see. Even technically, even if you are a makpid and you don't want it on your hair, it still is not a chatzitza. That's clear mi'ikar adin according to everyone, because it's loose. The water is getting through. That's what we're talking about. But if it would be tight, again, that's not the case here. If it would be tight, so then it would be it could be a chatzitza. Again, it depends if it's Daraisa, Darabanan, miut, not miut, makpid, not makpid. But okay, let's just read the Rama, Haga. But this is a chumrah of the Rama. Okay, it's not exactly the same chumrah that we had in the end of Aleph. Similar a little bit in nature, in I guess the gisha, but that we always want to have no chatzitza whatsoever, and lachatchila we don't wear anything. It's a little bit different, but it's a little bit on the same, because mikar adin, I believe we all agree that it's these cases of gimel and dalet are not a chotzitz, not a chatzitza. However, he writes, v'imayu muzhavot chotzitzim. But if they are, let's say, lined or made with gold, whatever it is, a material, dimakperet alehem shalot titanfim, and you don't want it to get dirty. Again, so you don't want it to get wet. You don't want it to get, I don't know if the water is a little bit dirty. You don't want it to get dirty from the water, whatever it is, or the water could damage it. Any of these cases where it's your makpid so that it doesn't get dirty or wet. V'chein im hayu metunafim techila. Well, this is a little bit of a different case. So the first case basically is, you're worried. It's a case where you are, even though it's loose, this is a minority opinion. It's not really mikar adin lahalacha, but there is a minority opinion mentioned in the Rishonim that even if it's loose and the water can get underneath it, and it wouldn't be a chatzitza, but because she's a makpid that she doesn't want it on her, and she wants to have it removed so it doesn't get wet, then there's an opinion that says, again, I believe only midarabanan, of course, since it's your makpid on it, even though the water can get underneath it, there's an opinion that that's considered a chatzitza. So the Rama is machmer for that opinion. At least, I believe, only midarabanan and only lechatchila. But yeah, but it's okay. As far as one to go back or not, ask your Rav. So that is another reason that's given, is if you're afraid that you don't want it to get wet, she might not dip properly because she doesn't want it to get wet or not for too long. So she might not even dip her entire body or her hair all the way underneath because you're worried. That is another chashash that's mentioned. Right. Okay. Trying to make sense of the Rama, because it's really, if it's a loose mikar, then it shouldn't be a problem. V'chein im hayu metunafim techila. This is a little bit different. Could be the same, but a little bit different. If let's say what this string is already dirty, so then makperet aleim shelo tiklachlech b'mayim. So she doesn't want it to get wet. It's already dirty. But if you get it wet, then it'll become muddy, and then make it worse. Or it can get onto her skin. Again, if it has to be like thick, sticky mud, it's exactly how it's a chatzitzah. It's obviously a little bit of a question. But the point, because her skin is wet and the mud's wet and everything is wet when it touches. But at least on the din lechatchila, that's what the Rama writes from that's it. So because v'chotzitzin, and therefore, at least on some level, it'll be considered a chatzitzah. Okay, so that at least explains that better. Now let's jump back to where we left off in Vav. Halacha Vav, see Vav. Se'ar shekeneged alev zakan. Right, she's. I don't know if she has to go again. I don't know. It's 100% kosher. The b'diavad, it's 100% kosher. But should you make her go back to dip again? I don't know. Different levels, different scenarios have different when to go back again. And at what stages? Did she get back home yet or not? Okay. Vav, se'ar shekeneged, so that if you have hair, chest hair, any hair on your body or on your face, hanidbak zebazeb machmat zeya. So it's stuck together because of sweat. The sweat makes it, sometimes the sweat itself can be turned into little pieces. But whatever it is, here your hair is stuck one to each other, next to each other, because of zeya. So we say it's chotzetz. Why? Because we're makpid. People don't want to walk around with their hair being stuck together by sweat. It bothers us. However, shebarosh v'shebeit hashachi eina chotzetz. But if it's on the head or the armpit, then it doesn't bother us. Again, it might be a different nowadays, especially with the hair on the head, that maybe we are makpid nowadays. But anyways, it depends if rov b'nei adam are makpid or not. V'sheba also makom be'ish eina chotzetz. And the makom erva of the man, it's not a chatzitza. It doesn't bother him if it's a little stuck together. Ubeisha b'nesua chotzetz, but with a woman who is married, right? She has a husband, so then it is a chatzitza because for the sake of her husband, it bothers them, and so therefore, or she doesn't want her husband to be displeased, so therefore, it bothers her, and therefore it is a chatzitza. Penuya, but a single girl, right? She's not with a man, so therefore it's eino chotzetz, because again, it's just like a guy for himself. Then the penuya doesn't care, and so therefore, it's just a miut she'eno that's not makpid. So that wouldn't be a chatzitza. Okay. Gimel. Haga. Ve'osan sheyesh lehen kemin kliot se'arot dvukot zobazo. Now, normally, I think we discussed hair before, so I'll point it out now. I just spoke to Rav Weiner. He says that normally braids, obviously lechatchila, we say braids have to be removed from hair. But mi'ikar adin, at least b'diavad mi'ikar adin, if it's a braid, it's not chotzetz because it's more than one hair on itself. And we say, obviously, you need it to soak for a little bit. Again, I don't know how many seconds, but you need the water. Bottom line, the water does get through mi'ikar adin, at least on b'diavad. So, except unless there's a gumi around it, if there's something tight. So he says what typically might happen if a woman comes to a mikvah Friday night, and so there's issues of kesher. We don't want to undo a kesher on Shabbos, so they'll have her remove the gumi or whatever's on a band, whatever is there, and then she'll go to the mikvah with the braid, because that's the situation. But anyways, normally we don't allow it. Now here, when we're talking about the Ramah, this doesn't usually, I'm not familiar with this happening too often, but a woman might wake up, Banasid Belayla in the middle of the night, Ayidei Shei, and a shade or some kind of demon comes to the woman at the night and makes some kind of, I don't know if they're called dreadlocks, or somehow the hair gets all stuck together. I don't think it's referring to a regular braid that we make, but then it all becomes like one body of hair all stuck together. And it was considered or is considered a sakana lahasiram, to undo it. So a woman is going to be afraid, and she's not going to want to undo this this dreadlock or whatever it is. Lo chaytze. So we say it's not a chatzitza. So therefore, because she doesn't want to undo it, so she wants it there. She's not makpid. Right now, she wants it to be there. Now, the issue is, though, if it's rove, normally we consider it still a problem. So again, the source of the halacha, I believe, comes, or it's discussed in the Mordechai, and a couple perushim that are given to why it's not a chatzitza is because one is we consider it like one davar gush. The whole thing becomes one item, and not exactly the same. Basically, he looks at it one way that it might be mutter. It's considered like a blua. We consider it like tuma blua or beta starim. That since it's all one item and that's how it's supposed to be, or that's how she wants it to be, and it's a little combination of Rabbi Tayo, but we'll get into details. Basically, we consider it like one item, and therefore, anything that's inside the body, also a vlad, a baby inside a woman, all these things are considered as if they themselves were in the mikvah. So it's not a chatzitza that way. Or perhaps the case is where it's loose enough for the water to get in. So those are two basic mahalchim on how that case is mutter. But anyways, all right. I don't think it's tula maisa, and we undo our hair and try and get the water to get through. And okay, zayin lifluf perush soat ayin. So a little of this white shachutz la'ayin chotzetz. If it's on the outside, I don't know, white mucus or whatever it is on the outside of the eye, it is chotzetz. We clean it off. Afilu hulach, even if it's moist. The lifluf shaba'ayin eno chotzetz, but if it's inside the eye, it's not a chatzitza. The imhu yavesh chotzetz, but if it's hard crust, so then it is. V'hu shehitchil lahorik, and that's if it starts to become green. Okay, so anyways, anything we have around our eyes, we try and clean it anyway. Bathe, we soak, we wash everything away. Lachatchila. Contact lens. Good question. Ask me later. I'll see who talks about it. Should be okay because it's within the line. So within, it's wet. Good question. All right. Okay. I'd rather quote someone. Okay. Fine. Let's go to Chet. All right. So asking me later. Kechol sheba'ayin eina chotzetz. Now, if you have some kind of a blue dye, makeup inside the eye, it's not a chatzitza.
Is it the medicine in the eye?
Medicine? I assumed it was makeup. You're right. But the Shach points out, if it's for medicine, it is a chatzitza. If it's so that, I guess, so you look better, it's not a chatzitza. And the minhag is certainly not to have any makeup on whatsoever. That's what he quotes. I mean, we know that. Yeah. And Rabbi Akiva Eiger speaks about in the bottom over here. What's it called? Anything you have in your nose that's normal. Again, we're not Malachi Asharis, and that's the Torah is not given to them; it's given to us, so that is okay. Also, it's also inside of the nostrils is considered Beit Starim, but obviously, if you have a mustache, you have to make sure it's clean. Okay, all right, fine. Let's go on. Really, the thing is, whatever is visible on the outside, that's not called Beit Starim or Chalal Haguf. Anything that's not usually visible, that's not really visible, so then that's not a problem. As long as it has to be completely balua or able to get water to it. If you were to theoretically, open up the nostril or the mouth, but okay, fine. Whatever you can clean normally, that's fine. You don't have to start shoving anything up to clean it. Fine. Chet. Well, we read that already. Let's continue. V'shechutz la'ayin chotzeitz. But if it's makeup on the outside of the eye, so then that is a chatzitza. V'im haita potachat ve'otzemet einea tadir af shechutz la'ayin eino chotzeitz. So if the eye is always being opened up and closed, I believe that means because it's getting wet. I have to check exactly, but it means a lot. While she's doing Tevilah, let's do Tet. Right. In the Pischei Tshuva also, he points out that you have to soak your hair. In that case of the your dreadlocks from the shade. Okay, we mentioned that. Tet. Dam yavish sha'al hamaka chotzetz. Dry blood on the skin is a chotzetz. We're not talking about a scab. We're talking about just extra dry blood that's on your skin. That is a chatzitza. V'rir shebetocho eina chotzetz. But if it's just I don't know, some kind of mucus or whatever, that's not a problem. Yatza harir mitocha kol toch shlosha yamim lahu ve'ena chotzetz. Now, basically, if you have a wound and then it starts to get covered up, so certainly the first 3 days is not a problem. Ve'ena chotzetz la'achar mikan yavesh ve'chotzetz. After 3 days, an older scab becomes dry and it is a chatzitza. Lefichach isha ba'alat chatatim tzricha lachuf b'mayim ad sheyitrachechu. But Lamaisa, if a woman has or anyone is going to the mikvah, and you have a scab, any blood that's dry outside of the scab, next to the scab on the skin, that's for sure you want to get that removed. But the scab itself, you do not have to peel off. That you just soak it and you let it get very wet and soft and absorb water, and then that's fine. That's all that's needed. Well, man also. If you're going to anyone who needs to go to the mikveh, I don't think it makes a difference. If the point is to go, I just a short quote again. Every case, ask your Rav, but from Rav Pessin, basically, if you have a Band-Aid over, I think we're actually about to get there. Let's read that next, and then I'll mention it. Yud. Retia sha'al hamaka chotzetzet. If you have a bandage over the maka, it's chotzetz. Again, it depends on what kind of Band-Aid and if the water can get through. But generally speaking, yeah, we remove Band-Aids. And if it's painful, if the water gets to it, so a person said normally for a Niddah, one is machmer. Again, it depends on your case. But if for Natilas Yadayim, he says we're generally meko. Just something to throw out there. Okay. Yad Aleph. Okay. Chetzer coats hatachuv babasar. A person gets an arrow, I don't know, stabbed in his body, unfortunately, or a bullet. Coats, that's just a thorn or a splinter, and it's underneath your skin. Im nira mibachutz chotzetz. So if it's sticking out and you see it, so then it's a chatzitza because it's where it's outside your body, it's touching the skin, and that part of the skin is not getting the water. V'im eino nira, but if it's not, in other words, it's covered up, it's underneath the skin layer, so it's not. So the outside layer of the skin is intact, and that's normal in touching the water. Eino chotzetz, it's not a problem. As long as there's a layer over it, it's not a problem. Okay, because anything inside whatever balua inside the body doesn't have to get doesn't have to get water, so that's not a problem. Okay, a bit more. If it's just a little bit of dirt that's on the body from the skin, einam chotzitzim, it's not a problem. But niglad kaglid chotzetz. But if it's a super thin layer that's not really mamasha, so that there's no real thick something there to peel off, it's not a chatzitza. But if it's something that's a little bit thick and stuck to the body, so then, or if you have little pieces, so then if it's stuck to the body, then that is a chatzitza. If it's a crust, well, any mamashos that could be peeled off your body would be a chatzitza. But if it's like a color, if it's something that has no mamashos, it's not a problem. Yud Gimel. Malmulin she'ala basar chotzitzin. This is, I'll read it from the Berehetev. Basically, you have a little bit of mud, or or batter from dough, and it sticks onto to your skin. So then that would be a chatzitza. It has to come off. Yeah, it could be anything. Anything that's mamashos that's on your skin is a chatzitza. Okay, here, Yudalid, a bit more about this. Tit hayavon v'tit hayotzrim v'tit drachim animtza sham tamid. So it's basically any mud that she has normally there. It could be near a river, near a lake, near a spring, whatever it is. Afilu bi'amot hachama kol elu chotzitzim. Any mud that's stuck onto the skin is a chatzitza. B'sha'ar kol atit keshehulach eina chotzitz. But if it's watery mud, it's not a chatzitza. Sherehu nimcha b'mayim, because those are tough, thicker muds that don't dissolve easily. But regular mud that is wet, I guess it washes off, it dissolves easily with the water. But if it's dry and it's stuck onto your skin, then that is a chatzitza. Here the Rama writes, but if it bothers her and she wants it off, even if it's lach, it's a chatzitza.